Hey, so I'm going to do a quick video on things to consider when you're building in a really cold climate, at least for water, because boy, it got cold here and my water just froze up. And so, I wish I would have done a few things differently on my whole cabin build. So this is my well house right here. And I built that like way before I did the cabin and stuff. And, now I would have done this totally different. I didn't put any insulation at all in the floor. But, boy, that gets really cold on the floor. Even my cabin sits 2 feet above the ground and it's got R30 insulation in the floor and it still gets cold. So here I wish I would have put, that styrofoam kind of R5 insulation, just stacked it in between my floor joists. That would have helped out a lot. I wouldn't use that fluffy stuff because chipmunks and stuff get under there. They would have, torn that stuff up. But I would have done that different. I also would have built this thing with 2x6 walls. I built it with 2x4 walls, but you can really only get like R14 insulation, R15 in that space. But if you use 2x6 for your walls, you can get like R21. It's way better. And because I didn't do that, I mean, it still is fine in here, but I got to use a little electric heater to heat this place when it starts dipping down cold. Even with my insulation now, it probably stays at least 10-15 degrees above the temperature outside. But if it's dipping down to like in the teens or below, I put a heater in here overnight on low and it keeps it in the 50s in here, so that works out. Hey, and sorry it's messy in here, but here's my setup here. That's my pressure tank, my pump. My well goes right down in there. You can do, I could have done different stuff in here, like one thing is, if I put, that thick insulation on the walls, I could have maybe built like a little styrofoam kind of covered box around this thing and then just put like a light bulb in there, and that probably would have heated it just fine to keep it way above freezing. But now I might do that at some point. But anyways, you got to have your water in here working. So if this thing froze up, I mean, basically you would have no water anywhere. And as long as that thing's running, I can still go right to this little, see, there's a little faucet right there. And as long as it's above freezing in here, this whole setup works fine. And I can just take water out in this hose, which I had to do, because my water froze up when it was, it hit -5, -7 degrees here, and bam, everything just froze up instantly. But at least I could come out here, I could fill up a bucket. You can bring your bucket in the house, fill up your toilet from the top, and you can still flush the toilet. So, that's important. And you can also come out here and get water for your coffee in the morning. So if that thing froze, I mean, I would have just been, kind of dead in the water with really no water at all, But from that well house right there, it comes underground, 4 feet deep. So really the water's not going to ever freeze in between the well house and my house because it's so deep in the ground. If you didn't bury it that deep, I mean, heck, it could have froze anywhere. You wouldn't even know where. But my weak point is when I come out of the ground here, I have water pipe coming out of the ground into the floor joist here. And that's kind of a weak point because, I mean, it's all kind of exposed right there. So I'll show you what I did to kind of fix things there. But one thing is I put this water, I didn't even see that, this water nozzle coming out here to get water outside, but I put that right into the main line there coming up, and it creates this T right there, so you can't wrap insulation around it, and I think it kind of transfers this coldness back to the main water line, so that wasn't a good idea. So here's what I got going on under the house. See, it comes up out of the ground here, and then it tees off for this. You know, I did put this tubing kind of insulation on, and then I did have it wrapped too. But I think, you know, geez, when it gets that cold, it still freezes pretty quick. Right now I got the heater plugged in underneath, and hopefully warming up stuff. You know, one good thing I did that I didn't think about at the time, my hot water and cold water runs, the main line runs along the floor joist there, and then I have insulation, of course, covering all that. And so I think those lines get, you know, some heat from the floor coming down from the house. And also at night, I would run the hot water in this sink, so the hot water would come all the way down and fill up all the space there, and I figure it would provide heat, you know, right there next to the cold line, and with the insulation around it, it would help keep it through the night. And so I think that worked pretty good till, you know, when it was below, you know, it usually gets about 20 degrees, maybe 15 degrees at night, and then just dripping my faucet seems to work fine. But as soon as it hit like below zero, I mean, all the stuff that's, you know, exposed under there is going to freeze pretty quick. So you know, you really got to look at, you know, how cold does it really get in the area you're going to live, and then you know, kind of base what you're going to do around that. And another thing I wish I would have done is put an electrical outlet underneath the house. And right now I got this extension cord running way around and stuff, but boy, if I had an electrical outlet underneath the house, I could just, you know, put one underneath a little heater or something to add a little heat under there. That would have been much easier. So if I had to do it again, I'd put an electrical outlet under there somewhere. I did finally get my sink unthawed, so having this heater down here, it took a few hours, really helped out. But you know, I came out here and I had my hefty extension cord down here hooked to this little wimpy one, and this thing was pretty hot, so let's use some safety precautions, people, and not use some wimpy cord like this on a heater. Oh, and once the sink actually started dripping just a tiny bit, it all like unclogged fast. Like, I think just that small drip was enough to really thaw out what was ever in there for ice. So probably even a slow drip works, at least somewhat in your house. But now I know I need a really slow drip, kind of a medium, so it's a little bit hot and a little bit cold. So both of those are dripping out, and maybe, you know, a nice little stream once it hits about, you know, 5 degrees. You know, something I just realized I didn't mention is also my sewer lines. I mean, my sewer lines come down and are pretty low away from the house. So, I mean, if you look at my sewer lines, you know, it's over a foot down from the insulation and stuff. So at the time, the inspector said, wow, you should put those higher up. And you know, I didn't want to redo all my pipes, but if I would have put those like way up higher by the insulation, it probably would have been a lot better, and then did a drop at the end. Because the only thing that really froze, other than, you know, the water supply, was the drain on the shower, which is kind of low. It's down here, you know, where all the other P-trap kind of things are, you know, up above, so they're going to be protected by your heat in your house. But that froze, so I was taking a shower, and the water just started filling up the bottom, and eventually the hot water melted the ice, but even the drain for that will get froze up pretty good under here. Hey, and on the well casing itself, I did a 6-inch well casing because it was cheaper, but the guy at the time said, well, if you do an 8-inch pipe, You know, you could put a submersible in it, but with the 6-inch, you could only do really a external pump. So if you actually had an 8-inch pipe, which we all want, you could put a submersible pump, and at least you wouldn't have to worry about your, pump freezing up. So that's an option too. Hey, so these are real handy. It's a little temperature recorder. I put the little sensor out there in the well house. Then I can see what the temperature really is out there, and if it gets down to anywhere close to lower 30s, I'll put the heat on out there. Last night it got down to about 15 degrees, and it was 37 in the well house with no heat at all. But it is insulated and drywalled and everything. But it also was pretty warm yesterday. It's, got up to 45. So if it's warmer during the day, it's all right that it gets down that cold. But tonight it's only supposed to get up to, or today is supposed to be around 30 for a high. And so, I'll definitely need to put on the heat tonight if you start at 30 degrees and then go down to, 15, 10 degrees. So anyways, those are pretty handy if you get one of those temperature recorders. So I went to the store at Dollar General in the nearest town, and I was going to get a heating pad and strap a heating pad on that pipe coming up. And I asked the guy about it. He said, yeah, the first year I was up here, our water froze, and I got this, tape wire thing at the hardware store to keep pipes warm. So I looked it up, and there are these devices where it's just a, kind of this long cord. You can get different sizes. I just ordered this one on eBay, but and that little black thing's a temperature thing, so it turns on automatically when it's cold. And so that's the way to go, because again, it was like 0 degrees here the other day, and as long as I have a slow drip, nothing's going to freeze. But when it gets below 0, I really need something like this just to turn on those days. It's not very many days that it's that cold up here, but this would be nice, and I just plug it in at night. I wouldn't have to worry about it. Yeah. And if you're just like starting to design your place, I really didn't think of this before, but like my kitchen is right here on this back wall, and my sink is right there. But all the rest of my water is down by the door, is where my bathroom is, kind of back that. So really I have to run, pipe all the way down here to the end, and then keep that whole length warm. Whereas if I just had my kitchen kind of in the middle part wall, I could have had just all my water in a real small area and be really easy to keep warm. But anyhow, I didn't think of that. My kitchen's way here. Another thing is my sewer pipe, of course, runs the whole length of the house, which is 36 feet. So if I'm running like a slow drip here, I mean, by the time the water would get 36 feet down, it's probably all frozen, so that's just like a long way to go for water to, stay unfrozen. And when I was building this, the inspector said, I'd lift those pipes up close to the house, but at that point I didn't want to change everything around. But realistically, if I put those sewer pipes higher up towards the house, it would have stayed a lot warmer just from that radiant heat from the house coming down. So, but heck, it's too late now. So I took off for a month to go to warmer places, and I came back up here, and it was like I saw a cop on a snowmobile yesterday. It's like the snowpocalypse up here or something. So it's just kind of crazy. And what's a bummer is I thought as long as my well is working in here, I figured, I'm all good. I can, get the water going. But let me show you what happened here. So I have this pressure tank here. And so I emptied out this pressure tank a month ago, drained all the water out, and I got that little outlet there. I kept that open, figuring all the pressure in the system would kind of go out there. But it didn't turn out that way. What actually happened is this thing totally froze and busted. So the whole cast iron is busted. And this is like a $250 pump. So it's like, wow. Guess I learned my lesson there. This is the primer pump or primer plug. You can take this thing out. I should have took this out and really drained all the water out of here. But I didn't do that. So I guess maybe you can learn from that mistake of mine and not do the same. Well, with my pump out, I guess at least the snow is good for getting water to flush my toilet. So, you know, as long as the toilet still flushes, you know, that's half the battle. But yeah, so I'm just heating up water. I found it takes actually over a 5-gallon bucket of snow to actually fill up the toilet. So, you know, but there's plenty of snow. Oh, and what's funny is I thought there was a lot of snow earlier in the year when I started making this video. But oh no, that was just the start of the snow. And what I found was kind of funny is, you know, just trying to actually get underneath my house. I had to dig out, you know, underneath here so I could get these off, so I could get underneath my house, so I could get a heater under there again because my pipes froze again. So I needed to get a heater under there. And but at that time, I mean, geez, it was like, you know, 4 feet of snow. I had to dig down to even get underneath my house. So, whew. Hey, so I already finished the video, but I'm going to cut this in later because I realized I didn't really talk about the main problem I have here is really the airflow I've got at the bottom of my house here, because it's all vented. And that's kind of required for code when I built the place. But in the wintertime, having all that ventilation is not good. And I mean, when I go underneath there, I can just feel the air moving. So that's one of my main problems. And I had a friend, Nick, come over up here, and he says, oh, I don't have a problem. I don't even drip my lines at night, my water lines. Because it's so well insulated. And he said he closes off all his vents, and so I can't close off my vents with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get R5 foam insulation and just cut the sheets and fit them in all along the base there, and it would just block all that airflow. It would be way warmer in there. And I think that's why kind of all this snow is away from the house, is because it's, boy, all that heat comes off from underneath the house. So definitely one of my main problems is that airflow underneath this house. Well, that's some of my experiences trying to keep the water flowing in this cold weather. Hope, you know, this has helped you in some way, and stay warm.